All right, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and start today's class laying on our back. Take it easy this morning. Sometimes I like to start a class sitting, and sometimes I like to start laying down. It's so funny because sometimes it's so hard to get on your mat. I find that I'm just like, oh no, I'd rather just sit and drink coffee and scroll the internet. But I know that once I get on my mat, I start to feel better. And so this is a strategy that I use when I'm very low energy, is to start my practice laying on my back instead of sitting up, because then I'm sort of doing half of what I really do want to do. So we'll just lay here for several moments, collect your thoughts, send those that don't serve you on your mat out of your mind. See if you can focus your energy and your mind to your body here laying on the mat. Start to focus on your breathing. And when I say focus on your breathing, we hear that a lot in meditation and in yoga, like, well, focus on your breathing. But what does that mean? For me, that means that I am sort of using my mind to visualize my breath moving in and out of my body. I find that an easier way to access what I'm talking about. And really what we're doing is trying to align our movement with our breath, with our mind, so that we are completely and fully present here on the mat, and we're not making to-do lists, and we're not thinking about what we're doing this afternoon. So let's take some time here to settle our body, find some stillness in our body. Add our breath, and just move at your own pace, breathing in and out. And then see if you can start taking deeper breaths, so it slows your breath down as you take a deeper breath in and a deeper breath out. And then focus your mind on that activity, on the activity of laying still, on the activity of moving your breath in and out of your body. Sometimes when we come to the mat, we bring sort of a reason showing up, an intention. So if you have a reason for being here today, even if that reason is just to give yourself some time to yourself, take a moment to dedicate your practice to that reason, to that intention, to that purpose that you've brought to your mat for the next hour. Now let's begin to add some movement to our practice. Sometimes I do a gentle class, and sometimes I'll do a yin class. Sometimes I'll kind of mix it up. Today I'm feeling a little bit more yin-like. Let's bring our knees into our chest. Wrap your arms around your shins We'll just stay here for about 2 minutes. You can keep your hips down on the floor. So instead of lifting your sacrum off the ground, see if you can keep it flat on the floor to help flatten your back. I want you to just relax into this posture. So see if there's any tension that you're holding in your body that you can relax and release. So you're really just using those arms to keep those legs steady while the rest of your body just sort of melts towards the floor. And what do I mean when I say yin? Yin yoga is a practice where you hold postures for several minutes at a time. Sometimes in yoga we move quickly in, say, a flow class, or we hold our postures for a moment in a more Iyengar focused class. And in those things, we're stretching our muscles and we're building our muscles, but we often don't hold them long enough to really stretch that connective tissue in our body. And my body woke up feeling a little bit cranky today, so I thought it could really use some time to just be still in these postures and really take that time for that deep stretch. So now, where you're at, go ahead and move those legs off. Keep your knees bent and drop them over to the left side or the right side, either one, but to one of the sides. I want you to keep both shoulder blades on the floor. And we're going to stay here for a few minutes as well, about 2 minutes. And you can I'm going to give you 3 options for your arms. You can have them straight out beside you like a T shape. You can bend at the elbows to make like goalposts. One thing you can also do is place if you're bent over to your left, if you're twisted over to the left, take your left hand and place it on the outside of your right thigh. Or if you're twisted over to the right, take your right hand and place it on the outside of your left thigh. Sometimes when I'm holding this pose for several minutes, I like to have my hand on that outside thigh because it kind of just, to me, sort of stabilizes my back. I'm not pushing down, it's just sort of like resting it on there. So yeah, we'll keep staying here for another 2 minutes. Bring your knees to center. And you can take whatever movement you need to before we go to the other side. Bring those knees into the chest. Straighten your legs along the mat. Whatever you want to do. And when you're ready, bring those knees back into your chest. And roll over to the other side. Again, you have choices with your arms, straight out to T, goal post. Place that outside hand just on the outside of your thigh. And we'll stay here for about 2 minutes. Go ahead and come back to center. Hug those knees, those shins again into your chest. And then straighten your legs onto the mat. Make any movements that you want. Wiggle around, anything that your body desires. And when you are ready, join me by placing your arms past your head off the mat, flat on the floor. And we're going to lengthen our bodies as long as we can go. And then begin to walk your hands and your feet over to your right side to make a crescent moon shape with your body. We'll stay here for 3 minutes on each side. And what I want you to do is either stay right here where you are, or another way to express this posture, you can place your left ankle over your right ankle so you kind of cross your legs and place your left hand inside your right palm. That's just another expression of the posture. Again, I want you to keep both of your shoulder blades on the ground. We'll stay here for 3 minutes. And sometimes like our backs can really arch in this posture. So you see if you can sort of bring the rib cage in closer to your spine so you're not arching back. Go ahead and untwist, one, walk yourself back to center. You can bring your knees into your chest if your back wants that. And then we'll come back to make your body as long as possible. And we'll walk over to the left side, walk your hands and your feet over to the left side. Make yourself into a crescent moon shape, both shoulder blades on the ground and your rib cage knitted into each other so it's closer to your spine. And again, we'll stay here for 3 minutes, either exactly the way you are or cross your ankles and place your right hand inside your left palm. Come back to center. Bring those knees into your chest. Roll over onto your side and we'll come into a tabletop position. And this would be a nice time, get a little bit of movement into your spine. Let's take some cat and cow postures. Hips over your knees and shoulders over your wrists. And just move at your own pace. You make some circles with your body. Direction. And when you move forward, maybe go a little bit beyond your wrists to give your wrist a little bit of a stretch. Now we're going to do a child's pose. And we're going to hold this for 3 minutes. So the way I like to get into child's pose is push my big toes together and then walk myself back so that my butt is now on top of my heels. And from here, I start to walk myself forward. Drop your head to the floor. And you can stay engaged by use your hands to push your butt closer to your heels. So you're like pushing your hands like away from you. And that brings your butt a little bit closer to your heels. We can drop your elbows to the mat and we'll stay here for 3 minutes. There's something that happened for me in a yin yoga class. It's something about the stillness. I feel like I'm always moving, and this opportunity to be still is a bit of a luxury. I find that my mind just kind of relaxes. And certainly, my body experiences a stretch that it normally doesn't. I don't normally take the time to allow the connective tissue to stretch this way. Go ahead and use those hands to sort of walk your body back up, and we'll come back into tabletop. Here we're going to do a little bit of a hold of a stretch for our wrists and then for our feet. From tabletop, we want you to begin to walk your fingertips out so that they're facing the edges of your mat. You have this wide expression of your hands on the mat. And now let's see if this works for your body, then just stay right here. We're going to hold this for about a minute. So find something that you can hold. And also begin to continue to walk your hands around so that maybe your fingertips even point towards your knees. Again, we're looking for something that you can sustain for about a minute. With your core engaged, so you're not like, dropping your belly down. And you may need to adjust it. The minute's already started, just so you know. And even halfway through this, you may find that it's too much and you want to begin to slowly untwist your hands. That's also fine. Is great if you struggle with carpal tunnel. It's a great way to keep your wrists stretched. We don't often stretch our wrists. And this posture, again, don't drop into your ear. Don't bring your shoulders into your ears. So a little bit more engagement than you normally would in a yin posture, mostly because we just want to protect your back. All right, and then as slowly as you got into it, begin to sort of windmill slowly, very slowly, bring those fingers back so that they're facing forward. And now bring both of your knees together. This is the tough love segment class, where we stretch our wrists in ways that feel like a lot, but shouldn't hurt. If anything hurts, don't do it. Sort of like rule of thumb in yoga. We're going to tuck those toes in the back, and now we're going to sit on our heels, and you can bring your wrists back to back so they're facing away from each other. And this is really to stretch your wrists the other direction and distract you from the sensation in your feet. And now just shake them out. So they're back to your hands, the backs of your hands are facing each other. this. So bring your hands, drop them, and then bring the backs together. And then shake it out. And if your feet are like, I can't do this anymore, it's okay. Come back to tabletop, untuck those toes and bang them on the floor. It feels good. We're going to do a downward facing dog now. So we're going to get a little bit of more movement in our bodies. So from downward facing dog, from tabletop, I like to just walk my hands like one hand width and hand length forward. So from here, from tabletop, I just go walk, walk forward, tuck my toes, and pop my butt up towards the sky. And our goal in downward dog is not necessarily to straighten our legs, it's to straighten our back, to flatten our back, to lengthen our back. So use those hands again to push your torso towards your legs. This may bring your ears in line with your arms. Now, once you're here, you can pedal out those toes, those feet. So drop your right heel, drop your left heel, drop your right heel, drop your left heel. Go up on your tippy toes, bend your knees as so much until your belly sort of touches your thighs, and then begin to kind of straighten out your legs. Go ahead and lift your right leg up into the air and bring it forward in between your hands. So we're in a low lunge. Bring that right foot forward, right. So drop into a low lunge. And we're going to stay here for about a minute or two. And you can either stay here with your leg, with your knee up, or you can drop your knee onto the floor, which might be a little bit easier for you. And you can untuck your toe while you do it. And from here, what I like about dropping, when you drop your knee to the ground, is you can then really drop into a bigger stretch. So you should feel this stretch here in the front of your left leg, and also feel it as sort of a hip opener on the right side too. So we'll stay here for a minute or two. And see if you can really sort of drop your hips even further than they are. Just release them. What does it take to release them a little bit more? Go ahead and tuck that knee, tuck your toes, and send your right foot back to downward facing dog. Find a good expression of this posture that you like for yourself right now. Again, you can use those hands to push your torso toward your legs. And lift that left foot up into the sky. And bring it forward for that low lunge. And again, we'll stay here either with your knee up or drop it down onto the floor, either way. I want you to really sort of drop into the posture. So you drop those hips. Whether if your leg is up, your knee is up, drop that hip further down. And if your knee is down, again, drop those hips towards the floor. Tuck the back toes, send yourself back into downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, drop those knees onto the floor, untuck your toes, and come down onto your elbows and bring yourself onto your belly. We're going to, here, I'm going to have us spend a moment with our right cheek on the floor and hands beside your body, arms beside your body. We'll stay here for a minute. This is a donation-based class, meaning that I don't want you to pay me to teach this class. I do it because I love to teach, but I also know that there are a lot of organizations that are in desperate need of our help and support. So I call this a donation-based class and ask you to make a donation every time you take my class for an organization that I've selected that I think is really important. And I have chosen Lambda Legal for the past several classes, and we'll probably continue to do that for the next, I don't know, foreseeable future. All right, everybody go ahead and lift your head and go ahead and drop your left cheek onto the floor, and we'll stay here for another minute. Arms by your sides. Again, if this hurts, don't do it. So I selected Lambda Legal because there are lots of anti-transgender laws that are being passed across the country, and they're really dehumanizing and cruel, and they violate the best practices for standards of care for transgender young people. And I want to make sure that organizations that are filing lawsuits have all the resources that they need. And Lambda Legal has stepped up to the plate and is challenging all of these laws. So you can see there's a link on Instagram and a link on Facebook to Lambda Legal, and you can make a donation directly to them, or just Google Lambda Legal, and if you go to their homepage, there's a donate button, and you can give there. So give generously. They need all the help that we can give them. I read that there are more anti-transgender athlete bills than there are transgender athletes. So there are a lot of lawsuits filed. Okay, and now we're going to do a space pose for a moment, probably for 2 minutes. So again, still on with your belly on the ground. Your legs can be spread apart. They can be together or just a little bit apart. So tighten your butt, engage your core. Your elbows are below your wrists. And we're going to stay here for, like I said, a minute or two. You can keep yourself engaged. And another way to add to the engagement is begin to use these hands, and you like pull, like you're pushing your hands, pulling your hands towards your body, which sends your chest forward, shoulders down and back. And you can stay engaged here for a minute or two. You can also release into the posture and just feel how gravity helps you in increasing the back bend here, because this is a back bend. So we are experiencing a back bend for ourselves, sorry, I'm like losing words. Need more coffee. So as we let gravity sort of drop our back, our belly down towards the ground, it increases our back bend. So here we are. We're going to continue to stay in this posture for probably another minute. We've been here for probably about a minute. here. You bring your arms up and come back to tabletop. And again, you can use a cat and cow postures to sort of work out any tension in your back. Come back up to downward facing dog. From here, you can walk your hands and feet together in the middle of your mat. And when we're in the forward fold, I want you to find some contact with the floor. And that means you may need to bend your knees a lot to get there. So hands on the floor, knees are bent so that you can get some hands, even if it's fingertips. But it's bending your knees to get there. Then let's drop into a ragdoll. So grab your elbows with your hands and we'll just hang here for about a minute. Drop your hands to the floor. We're going to come into a pigeon pose here. So come back into downward facing dog. And then bring your right knee towards your right armpit and drop your knee onto the floor. Keep your heel close to your body and square your hips as you begin to fold forward. You can hold this posture on your elbows, or you can use your hands to make a pillow for your head, and we'll stay here for 3 minutes. Again, if you need to modify at all in the 3 minutes, you should definitely do that. Again, if it hurts, stop doing it. And find some movement again. Use your hands to push yourself up. You can take a little bit of back bend here if you want. And then we're going to tuck those back toes, ourselves back up into downward facing dog. Pedal out those legs. Now bring that left knee towards your left armpit and drop it down onto the mat. Keep that heel close to your body. Square out your hips. Walk your hands forward, drop down onto your elbows. Stay here. Or drop, make a pillow with your hands. And then you can drop your head down to the floor. We'll stay here for 3 minutes. Go ahead and tuck that back toe, walk your hands up. Oh, actually, don't untuck that toe. Give yourself a stretch if you want. Then we're just gonna actually roll ourselves over onto our seated position. And bring those legs out in front of you and you can work them, shake them out. Here we're going to drop our shoulders down and back, knit those rib cage together so it's towards your rib cage and not stretching, not pointing out or arching out. Hands down beside you, and we'll just stay right here or engaged. And bring those arms up overhead. And with a flat back, fold forward until you can't keep it flat, and then begin to round it. And leave your hands wherever they want to land, on the floor, on your shins, on your ankles, wrapped around your feet, whatever. We'll stay here for a minute. And walk them forward, bend your knees and bring the bottoms of your feet together. Butterfly. And we'll stay here. I'm going to give you a couple of options. We're going to stay here for a minute. You can either wrap your hands around your ankles. And in butterfly, we don't push our knees down. We send them out towards each wall beside us. So that actually brings them lower than if you just use your force to push them down. And from here, so there are a couple of options. You can either just wrap your hands around your ankles, and we'll stay here for a minute. Or you can walk forward like we did before, find a place that you can hold for a minute, and we'll stay there. And from here, place your hands on the outside of your thighs and use that to push your knees together. We're going to lay down flat on our back. Bring those knees into your chest. Send your left leg back down onto the floor. Send your right heel up toward the ceiling. Clasp your hands behind your hamstring. And I want you to gently push your leg away from your body. Use your leg to push it away from your leg while you use your hands to pull your leg toward you. And now we'll switch to the other side. Left heel pointing up towards the ceiling. Hands clasped behind the hamstring. Use your leg to push your leg away from your body, and your hands to pull your leg toward you. And then we'll come into our final pose, Shavasana. You can come into corpse pose with your heels as wide as the mat and your arms on the floor next to you. Another option, you can bring your knees together and place your feet on the floor and then open your legs up to sort of a reclined butterfly. And we'll stay here for a couple of minutes in Shavasana. If you're in a reclined bound angle, again, use your hands to bring them to the outside of your legs. And use them to push your legs together. And then roll over to your side. And before you get up, connect back in with your intention, the reason why you showed up today. Express gratitude for making it to your mat. And express some gratitude for yourself. Say something to yourself that would be nice if somebody said to you. And push yourself up to a seated position and just find a comfortable spot for some comfortable seated position. And we'll close out. Place your hands on top of your knees, either down for grounding or up to receive whatever the universe is sending our way. Connect back in with your body and your breath and your mind. Focus your mind on what your breath is doing as it moves in and out of the body. Just watch your breath. Bring your hands to the heart center and express gratitude for the teacher that you are, the teacher that I am. The teacher in me sees the teacher in each one of you. Thank you. So nice to see everyone. Thanks for being here.